The silence in the asteroid field was complete, broken only by the soft hum of life support systems aboard the invisible ship Whisper. David Stone pressed his face closer to the observation port, watching alien warships struggle against something they could not understand. 300 meters below his hidden position, a massive Altrian cruiser fired its weapons uselessly into space, trying to hit pirates that seemed to vanish and reappear at will. What the aliens did not know was that human technology had been tracking both sides of this fight for the past 6 hours. What they also did not know was that David's ship was currently invisible, floating right above them, recording everything they did wrong. The Altrian commander was making every mistake in the tactical manual. His ships moved in predictable patterns. His communications were unencrypted. His weapons fired at where the pirates had been, not where they were going. David shook his head in disappointment. These were supposed to be the galaxy's military experts. "Sir, should we help them?" asked his navigator, Amy Chen, from her position. At the sensor station, David considered this. Helping would mean revealing themselves. The Galactic Council had made it very clear 300 years ago that humans were too primitive to join their civilization. Earth was quarantined. Humans were forbidden from leaving their solar system. The aliens believed this because they had seen humanity's first clumsy attempts at spaceflight and decided humans were barely beyond cave paintings. They had no idea how wrong they were. In the 3 centuries since first contact went badly, humanity had done something the aliens never expected. Instead of giving up, they had gotten better. Much better. The rejection had hurt, but it had also taught humans a valuable lesson. If the galaxy would not accept them as they were, humans would become something the galaxy could not ignore. The process had started with Dr. Amanda Webb, a brilliant scientist who refused to accept that humans were inferior. Working in secret facilities hidden throughout the solar system, she and others like engineer Tom Rivers had taken apart every piece of alien technology they could find. Crashed scout ships, abandoned probes, even garbage left behind by alien visitors. They studied it all, learned from it all, and then made it better. By 2300, human ships could travel faster than most alien vessels. By 2350, human computers could process information that would crash alien systems. By 2400, human weapons could punch through shields that aliens considered unbreakable. And by 2457, the year of this battle David was watching, human technology was so advanced that most alien races would not recognize it as technology at all. The ghost drives that kept David's ship invisible were just one example. They did not simply bend light around the ship like primitive cloaking devices. They actually shifted the ship slightly out of normal space, making it exist in a dimension where alien sensors could not reach. The ship was there, but also not. There, like a shadow cast by something in another room. But stealth was only part of humanity's advancement. The quantum manufacturing plants hidden in asteroid belts could build entire fleets in weeks. The neural enhancement technology allowed human minds to process information at speeds that would make alien supercomputers jealous. Most importantly, humans had learned to think differently than aliens. Where alien races specialized, humans generalized. Where aliens competed, humans cooperated. Where aliens conquered, humans observed. And humans had been observing for a very long time. David touched his control panel and called up the mission files. For the past 50 years, ships like his had been watching every major conflict in this sector. They recorded alien tactics, studied alien weaknesses, and occasionally intervened when something truly terrible was about to happen. The aliens never knew they were being helped. They just thought they were lucky. The kiln plague of 2398, that mysteriously stopped spreading just before it would have killed billions? Human bioengineers had developed the cure and secretly introduced it into the alien medical supply chain. The savage horde that had terrorized the Outer Rim colonies for decades before suddenly disappearing in 2445? Human stealth fleets had systematically eliminated every single Horde ship, making it look like accidents and mechanical failures. Humanity had become the galaxy's secret guardian, protecting civilizations that despised them from threats they never even knew existed. It was a thankless job, but humans did it anyway because it was the right thing to do. And because every time they saved alien lives, they learned something new about alien technology, alien psychology, alien weaknesses. Knowledge was power, and humans had been gathering knowledge for 3 centuries. The battle below was turning worse for the Altrians. Their flagship was taking heavy damage, and David could see escape pods beginning to launch. The pirates, using stolen military hardware and guerrilla tactics, were winning against one of the galaxy's most advanced fleets. This was the sort of embarrassing defeat that the Galactic Council would spend months investigating, trying to understand how their superior technology had been beaten by criminals. David made his decision. He activated the communication system, but not to call for help. Instead, he sent a coded message to his commander back on Titan base, deep within Saturn's moon. The message was simple. Another alien military failure observed and recorded. Another example of why the galaxy needed humanity's protection, even if they would never admit it. Amy looked at him with questioning eyes. She was young, barely 25, and had been born after the quarantine started. To her generation, hiding from aliens was normal. But David remembered the old stories, told by people who had been alive during first contact. He remembered the hope that had died when Earth was rejected. But that hope had not really died. It had just gone underground, growing in secret, becoming something stronger and more determined. The galaxy had wanted humanity to stay primitive and isolated. Instead, humanity had used that isolation to become something the galaxy had never imagined. While aliens fought each other over resources and territory, humans had quietly become masters of both. The Whisper began moving away from the battle, its ghost drive carrying it silently through dimensions that alien science could not detect. Soon, it would return to Titan base, where Admiral Kate Morgan would add this incident to the vast database of alien failures that humanity had been compiling for centuries. Somewhere in that database was the key to everything. The moment when humanity would finally step out of the shadows and show the galaxy what 300 years of secret growth had accomplished. When that moment came, the aliens would understand that their greatest mistake was not rejecting humanity. Their greatest mistake was giving humanity time to become gods. Deep inside Saturn's largest moon, Admiral Kate Morgan walked through corridors that did not officially exist. Titan base stretched for hundreds of kilometers in every direction, carved from ice and rock by machines that could reshape matter at the atomic level. The base was humanity's greatest secret, a command center that coordinated operations across half the galaxy while remaining completely invisible to alien detection. Kate stopped at a massive viewing window that showed the interior of the Central Operations Chamber. Below her, thousands of humans worked at stations that would have looked like magic to most alien civilizations. Holographic displays showed real-time information from every corner of known space. Quantum communication arrays allowed instant contact with human agents scattered across hundreds of worlds. Advanced computers processed data streams that would crash alien networks in seconds. This was humanity's true face, hidden from a galaxy that still believed Earth's people were barely capable of making fire. The irony never stopped amusing Kate. While the Galactic Council spent their time arguing about trade regulations and border disputes, humanity had been quietly building an intelligence network that made their efforts look like children playing with toys. Human agents had infiltrated alien governments, alien military forces, even alien research institutions. They gathered information, provided subtle guidance, and prevented disasters that would have destroyed civilizations, all without anyone knowing they existed. Kate's personal communication device chimed softly. She activated it and saw the concerned face of Director James Park, head of intelligence operations. His expression told her that something important had happened. "Admiral, we have a situation developing in the Altrian sector." "High Chancellor, Vrex is calling emergency sessions. Their intelligence networks are reporting something they call a phantom contact near the Kepler mining operation." Kate felt a chill run down her spine. Phantom contacts meant only one thing. Someone had seen a human ship. She moved quickly to her private office, a room shielded by technology that made it impossible to observe from the outside, even with quantum sensors. "Show me everything," she ordered. James's hologram appeared in her office, surrounded by data, displays that showed the situation in detail. A routine Altrian mining operation had detected an unknown ship for exactly 2.3 seconds. The ship's design was unlike anything in galactic databases. Its energy signature suggested technology that shouldn't exist. Most troubling of all, analysis of the brief contact suggested the ship had been observing them. "Which of our ships was in that area?" Kate asked, though she already suspected the answer. "The Whisper, Admiral. David Stone's reconnaissance mission. His ghost drive experienced a temporary malfunction. He managed to re-engage the cloak and escape, but not before their sensors got a partial reading." Kate studied the alien analysis reports that her intelligence network had intercepted. The aliens were terrified. They had spent centuries believing they were the masters of the galaxy, that their technology was supreme, that their understanding of physics was complete. Now they faced evidence of a civilization that could build ships incorporating technologies from dozens of different species, some of which had been extinct for thousands of years. What made it worse was that the aliens were reaching the right conclusions for the wrong reasons. They believed they had discovered evidence of an ancient unknown species that had been secretly harvesting technology across the galaxy for millennia. They were imagining a civilization of shadowy masters who collected alien achievements like trophies. They had no idea they were looking at the work of the species they had dismissed as primitive 3 centuries ago. Kate activated her command interface and called up humanity's long-term strategic plans. Protocol 7 had always been the contingency for this exact situation. What to do if humanity was discovered before they were ready to reveal themselves. The plan had dozens of options, from complete withdrawal to limited contact to full disclosure. But as Kate reviewed the current galactic situation, she realized something had changed. Humanity was no longer the weak, isolated species that had been rejected at first contact. Over 3 centuries of secret development had transformed them into something the galaxy could not ignore, could not threaten, and could not understand. Perhaps it was time to stop hiding. She opened a secure channel to her top advisors scattered across the solar system. Within minutes, the holographic conference room was filled with the images of humanity's most brilliant leaders. Dr. Amanda Webb, now over 200 years old but kept vital by human life extension technology, sat next to General Robert Kim, commander of humanity's secret military forces. Director Sarah Martinez from the Mars research facilities joined them, along with a dozen others who had shaped humanity's hidden development. "The situation is this," Kate began. "We have been partially detected. The aliens are panicking, but they don't yet know what they're looking at. We have several options." Dr. Webb spoke first. "We could initiate complete blackout protocols, withdraw all our ships, shut down all operations, go completely dark for a century or more. Let them exhaust themselves searching for phantoms." General Kim disagreed. "Withdrawal is no longer possible. Our operations are too extensive, our interventions too frequent. If we suddenly stop preventing disasters, they'll notice that too. The absence of our help will be as revealing as our presence." Director Martinez raised a different point. "Perhaps the question isn't whether we reveal ourselves, but how we do it. The galaxy is about to learn that their greatest secret isn't some ancient civilization of technology collectors. It's the species they quarantined as primitives." Kate nodded. She had been thinking the same thing. The galaxy's reaction to discovering humanity's true capabilities would depend entirely on how that discovery happened. If they learned gradually, through careful revelation and diplomatic contact, it might be possible to avoid conflict. But if they discovered the truth suddenly, in a moment of fear and surprise, the result could be war. "What's our current defensive capability?" Kate asked General Kim. The general smiled grimly. "Admiral, we could defend Earth from the entire galactic Council fleet without significant difficulty. Our real problem would be limiting the damage to avoid genocide. They would be fighting with 300-year-old tactics against weapons they can't understand, powered by physics they don't know exists." The room fell silent as everyone considered the implications. Humanity had spent centuries protecting alien civilizations from threats they couldn't handle. Now, humanity itself might become the threat they couldn't handle. But Kate was beginning to see another possibility. What if humanity's reveal wasn't about showing their military strength? What if it was about showing their role as secret guardians? What if the galaxy learned that their greatest protector was the species they had always despised? "Begin implementing Protocol 7, she ordered. "But not the withdrawal version, the revelation version. It's time for the galaxy to learn what humanity really became during our centuries of quarantine." As the meeting ended and the holograms faded, Kate returned to the observation window. Below her, human operators continued their work of protecting a galaxy that didn't know they existed. Soon, that would change. Soon, the children of Earth would step into the light. The galaxy had wanted humanity to remain primitive. Instead, they had become gods in the shadows. Now it was time for those gods to reveal themselves. Roy Palmer knew he was in trouble the moment his ship shuddered. The Shadowhawk was supposed to be invisible, a ghost moving through space without leaving any trace of its passage. But something in the ship's quantum core was fluctuating, causing power spikes that threatened to destabilize the ghost drive. Below him, the Altrian mining operation continued its work, massive machines tearing apart asteroids to harvest rare minerals. Roy's mission was simple: observe and record. Learn how alien mining technology worked, identify potential weaknesses in their equipment, and gather intelligence about their operational procedures. It was routine work that human reconnaissance ships had been doing for decades without incident. The power fluctuation grew worse. Roy's hands moved quickly across his control panels, trying to stabilize the drive before it completely failed. Warning lights flashed across his dashboard. The ship's artificial intelligence spoke in calm, measured tones about system failures and recommended emergency procedures. Roy ignored the AI and focused on the quantum core readings. If he could just adjust the phase variance by a few degrees, reroute power through the backup conduits, maybe bypass the damaged coupling entirely. The ghost drive failed. For exactly 2.3 seconds, the Shadowhawk became fully visible to normal space. Every sensor in the Altrian fleet suddenly detected a ship that had appeared from nowhere, hovering directly above their mining operation like a predator watching its prey. Roy felt his heart stop. In those brief seconds of visibility, he knew that alien sensors were scanning his ship, recording its design, analyzing its energy signature, and transmitting all of that data to military databases across the galaxy. 3 centuries of human secrecy were being destroyed by a mechanical failure that lasted less than 3 heartbeats. He slammed his hand down on the emergency restart button. The ghost drive sparked back to life, shifting the Shadowhawk back into its parallel dimension where alien sensors could not reach. The ship vanished from alien detection as suddenly as it had appeared. But the damage was done. Aboard the Altrian command ship Sovereign, sensor operator Nix-47 stared at readings that made no sense. The unknown vessel had appeared for only a moment. But that moment had been enough for his equipment to gather detailed scans. What he saw in those scans terrified him. The ship's hull was made from materials that existed only in theoretical physics textbooks. Its power source generated energy at levels that should have been impossible without a star to fuel it. Most disturbing of all, the ship's design incorporated technologies from at least 12 different alien species, some of which had been extinct for millennia. Nix-47 had served in the Altrian military for 30 years. He had seen every type of ship in the galactic databases. He knew the design philosophy of every major civilization, the capabilities of every known weapons system, the limitations of every proven technology. The ship he had just observed broke every rule he understood about what was possible. His claws trembled as he transmitted the sensor data to Fleet Command. Within minutes, alerts were flashing across every screen in the command center. The Fleet Admiral himself appeared at Nix-47's station, studying the impossible readings with growing alarm. "Are you certain this data is accurate?" Admiral Kex Prime demanded. Nix-47 checked his instruments again. "Yes, sir. All sensors confirmed the same readings. The ship was there, then it wasn't. But while it was visible, we recorded everything. The dice." Admiral studied the energy patterns that had been captured during those 2.3 seconds. What he saw made his blood freeze. The unknown ship hadn't just been watching them. It had been scanning them, analyzing their technology, studying their procedures with an intelligence that was clearly superior to their own. "Send this data to the Galactic Council immediately," the Admiral ordered. "Priority Alpha classification. And prepare the fleet for emergency departure. Whatever that ship was, I don't want to be here when it comes back." On Earth's moon, in a facility buried beneath kilometers of rock and hidden by technology that bent light around it, Director Lisa Chen received an urgent message from the Shadowhawk. Roy Palmer's ship had suffered a mechanical failure during a routine reconnaissance mission. The failure had caused a temporary loss of stealth. Alien forces had detected the ship and recorded detailed sensor data. Lisa felt sick. She had been coordinating human intelligence operations for over 40 years. She had seen human agents successfully infiltrate alien governments. Human ships observe alien military exercises. Human scientists study alien technology, all without being detected. Now, because of a random mechanical failure, everything they had worked for was at risk. She activated emergency protocols and sent immediate alerts to Admiral Morgan on Titan Base. Within the hour, every human operative in the galaxy was receiving coded instructions to prepare for possible exposure. Ships were ordered to increase stealth protocols. Agents were told to prepare for emergency extraction. Research facilities began implementing security lockdowns. But even as these precautions were being taken, the alien reaction was already spiraling beyond human control. The sensor data from the Shadowhawk reached the Galactic Council's Central Intelligence Division within 6 hours. Teams of alien scientists, military analysts, and xenobiologists began studying the readings with growing horror. The ship they were examining represented technology that was centuries ahead of anything in their databases. High Chancellor Vrex convened an emergency session of the Galactic Council. Representatives from dozens of species gathered in the Great Council chamber on the capital world of Centralis Prime. The holographic displays showed the sensor readings from the mining operation, along with analysis reports that grew more frightening with each page. "What we are looking at," announced Chief Science Advisor Tal 9, "is evidence of a civilization that has been operating in galactic space for an unknown period of time. Their technology incorporates elements from multiple extinct species, suggesting they have been active for centuries or possibly millennia." The council chamber erupted in frightened whispers. Several representatives demanded immediate military action. Others called for diplomatic contact. A few suggested retreat to the galactic core worlds and preparation for siege. Chancellor Vrex studied the data again. The energy readings from the unknown ship suggested it could manipulate space-time itself. The hull materials were stronger than anything the Council's best scientists could produce. The power source generated more energy than some stars. "If this civilization has been watching us," he said slowly, "then they know everything about our capabilities, our weaknesses, our military deployments. They have been invisible to our sensors, which means they could have ships anywhere in the galaxy right now. The implications were staggering. Every military base could be under surveillance, every government meeting could be observed, every secret weapon could be known to the enemy. The civilization that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years suddenly felt like helpless children being watched by invisible adults. "Activate emergency protocols," Chancellor Vrex ordered. "I want every sensor array in the galaxy recalibrated to search for signs of this unknown civilization. Mobilize all military fleets. Begin evacuation procedures for critical government facilities." As panic spread across the galaxy, Roy Palmer sat in his quarters aboard the Shadowhawk, writing his mission report. A simple mechanical failure had changed everything. The galaxy would never be the same. Humanity's secret was out. The question now was what the galaxy would do when they learned the truth about the species they had dismissed as primitive. The answer, Roy suspected, would terrify everyone involved. The emergency klaxons hadn't stopped wailing on Centralis Prime for 3 days. Throughout the galactic capital, military analysts pored over sensor data that shouldn't exist, while xenobiologists tried to understand technology that broke every known law of physics. The brief glimpse of Roy Palmer's ship had triggered the largest intelligence operation in galactic history, and what they were discovering made their worst fears seem optimistic. High Chancellor Vrex stood before a massive, holographic display that showed the galaxy in 3 dimensions. Red markers indicated locations where unusual activity had been detected in the past 72 hours. What had started as isolated incidents was now revealing a pattern that covered half of known space. "Show me the gravitational anomalies again," he ordered. The display changed, showing dozens of star systems where space itself seemed to behave strangely. Subtle distortions in stellar orbits suggested the presence of massive objects that weren't visible to any sensors. In some cases, entire asteroid belts showed signs of systematic mining operations that had somehow been completely invisible until now. Chief Science Advisor Tal 9 manipulated the display, highlighting the most disturbing findings. Here, in the Ross system, we detected quantum resonance patterns that suggest the presence of a structure larger than most moons. But when we sent probe ships to investigate, they found nothing. The structure is there, but also not there, existing, in a state that our physics can't explain. Similar reports came from across the galaxy: hidden facilities, invisible ships, technologies that operated on principles the Galactic Council's best scientists couldn't understand. The unknown civilization wasn't just advanced. They existed in ways that challenged the fundamental understanding of reality itself. But the most terrifying discoveries were yet to come. Director of Intelligence Zek Alpha had been working without sleep since the crisis began, coordinating analysis of thousands of reports from across the galaxy. Her team had been tasked with answering a simple question: how long had this unknown civilization been operating in galactic space? The answer was slowly destroying everything she thought she knew about galactic history. "Chancellor," she announced, during the morning briefing, her voice tight with exhaustion and fear, "we've completed our analysis of historical anomalies. The pattern goes back at least 3 centuries. The council chamber fell silent. 3 centuries was longer than most species had been spacefaring. It predated the current galactic government, the previous 3 wars, and most of the technological advances that defined modern civilization. Zek Alpha activated a historical database that showed galactic events over the past 300 years. The kiln plague of 2398 that mysteriously stopped spreading. The sudden disappearance of the savage horde in 2445. The unexplained mechanical failures that destroyed the pirate fleets in the Outer Rim. The convenient disasters that eliminated terrorist groups just before they could attack civilian targets. Each event was marked on the galactic map, creating a pattern that was impossible to ignore. Someone had been systematically preventing disasters, eliminating threats, and protecting civilian populations across the galaxy for centuries. They've Been watching us, Zek Alpha continued. Not just watching, protecting us. Every major threat to galactic civilization in the past 3 centuries has been eliminated by forces we never saw, using methods we never understood. Chancellor Vrex felt reality shift around him. The galactic civilization he had spent his life serving, the mighty Altrian Empire, the powerful Galactic Council, the advanced military forces that kept order across thousands of worlds, had been existing only because invisible guardians allowed them to exist. Who are they? He demanded. What species has this capability? Where do they come from? The answer came from an unexpected source. Junior analyst Pex 12, a young researcher who specialized in archaeological data, raised her hand nervously. Chancellor, I think I might know, but you're not going to like it. She activated a display showing sensor analysis from the original detection. The unknown ship's energy patterns were compared against databases of known technologies. Most of the matches came from extinct species as expected, but there was one pattern that matched something in current galactic records. The quantum resonance frequency, she said quietly, matches readings we have from the quarantine zone around the Sol system. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Representatives shouted denials. Scientists demanded verification. Military commanders called for immediate invasion of Earth. Through it all, Chancellor Vrex stared at the data with growing horror. Earth. The primitive world that had been quarantined 3 centuries ago. The species that had been judged too backward to join galactic civilization. The humans who were supposedly still discovering basic spaceflight. That's impossible, he said. We've monitored Earth continuously since the quarantine began. They're primitives. They have simple radio communications, chemical rockets, tribal warfare. They've barely reached their own moon. Pex 12 pulled up the monitoring reports from the Sol system. The data showed exactly what Chancellor Vrex described. A primitive species with crude technology and violent tendencies. But now, looking at 3 centuries of reports, patterns began to emerge that hadn't been noticed before. The primitive radio signals followed mathematical patterns too complex for a developing civilization. The crude chemical rockets used materials that shouldn't have been available to Stone Age cultures. The tribal warfare always stopped just before it could cause species-wide damage. Chancellor, Pex 12 said softly, what if we've been seeing what they wanted us to see? The implications hit the Council like a physical blow. If humans had been capable of advanced deception for 3 centuries, if they had been manipulating galactic observations while secretly developing technologies beyond galactic understanding, then everything the Council knew about the universe was wrong. Chancellor Vrex activated his personal communicator and contacted Admiral Rex Commander, head of the galactic military. I want every available ship moved to the Sol system immediately. Full battle readiness. If the humans have been deceiving us, we need to know the extent of their capabilities. But even as the largest military force in galactic history began moving toward Earth, intelligence reports continued to arrive that made their mission seem more hopeless with each passing hour. Human technology wasn't just advanced, it was impossible. Their ships existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Their computers processed information faster than light could travel. Their weapons manipulated the fundamental forces of the universe. More disturbing still, analysis of their intervention patterns showed a level of strategic thinking that spanned centuries. Every action they had taken, every disaster they had prevented, every threat they had eliminated had been part of a larger plan to shape galactic development in specific directions. They had been gardeners, tending a galactic civilization like farmers caring for crops, ensuring that wars ended before they became genocidal, that plagues stopped before they became extinction events, that technological development proceeded at rates that wouldn't destroy species before they were mature enough to handle power. The galaxy's greatest civilizations had been pets, carefully managed by invisible owners who ensured they remained healthy and safe. On Titan Base, Admiral Kate Morgan watched the galactic panic through her intelligence networks with mixed emotions. Part of her felt satisfaction at seeing the arrogant alien civilizations finally understand their true place in the universe, but part of her felt sadness at the fear and confusion that humanity's revelation was causing. "Ma'am," reported Director James Park, "our deep space monitors show massive fleet movements throughout the galaxy. It looks like they're mobilizing everything they have." Kate nodded. This was exactly what Protocol 7 had predicted. When faced with evidence of their own insignificance, the galaxy's response would be military. They would come to Earth with every ship they could gather, believing that superior numbers could somehow overcome superior technology. They had no idea that humanity had been preparing for this exact scenario for 3 centuries. "Implement final phase protocols," Kate ordered. "It's time for the children of Earth to come home." Across the galaxy, human agents began extracting from their positions. Hidden bases powered up weapons systems that had been dormant for decades. Ships that had existed as ghosts in the darkness began preparing to step into the light. The galaxy wanted to see what humanity had become during their centuries of quarantine. Soon, they would get their wish. And when they did, they would understand that their greatest mistake wasn't rejecting humanity. Their greatest mistake was giving them time to become something beyond their worst nightmares. The edge of the Sol system had never seen so many ships. High Chancellor Vrex commanded the largest military force in galactic history, over 50,000 vessels from every species in the Galactic Council, armed with the most advanced weapons their civilizations could produce. They had come expecting to find a hidden empire, ancient ruins, or perhaps evidence of some extinct species that had been manipulating galactic affairs from Earth's shadow. Instead, they found Admiral Kate Morgan waiting for them in open space. Her ship hung motionless between the alien fleet and the inner solar system, a single vessel that seemed impossibly small against the massive force arrayed against it. But as Chancellor Vrex studied the readings from his sensors, he felt his confidence drain away like water from a broken container. The human ship defied every law of physics he understood. It was roughly the size of a heavy cruiser, but its energy output was greater than his entire fleet combined. Its hull seemed to be made of materials that absorbed energy rather than reflecting it, making it appear as a dark void against the stars. Most disturbing of all, it wasn't just floating in space. It was somehow existing in multiple dimensions simultaneously, present but also absent, real but also impossible. "This is High Chancellor Vrex of the Galactic Council," he broadcast on all frequencies. "You will identify yourself and explain your presence in quarantined space." The response came immediately, in perfect Altrian as well as the languages of every species in the fleet. "Chancellor Vrex, I am Admiral Kate Morgan, of the Human Colonial Defense Force. I believe you've been looking for us." The words hit the bridge like a physical blow. Humans. The primitive species from the quarantined world. The creatures who were supposedly still discovering fire and basic agriculture were speaking to him from a ship that made his flagship look like a child's toy. "Impossible," Vrex whispered, then activated his communicator again. "The humans were quarantined 3 centuries ago. Your species was judged too primitive for galactic contact. Our monitors show you have barely achieved spaceflight." Kate's laughter came across the channel, warm and genuine. "Chancellor, you see what we've wanted you to see for 300 years, but I think it's time we showed you who we really became during our quarantine." What happened next would be talked about in alien military academies for generations to come, though most would refuse to believe it actually occurred. Space around the human ship began to ripple like water disturbed by a stone. Reality itself seemed to bend and twist as more ships began materializing from dimensions that alien science insisted could not exist. They appeared by the dozens, then by the hundreds, then by the thousands, until the space around the alien Fleet was filled with human vessels of impossible design. Each ship was unique, incorporating technologies that the aliens recognized from dozens of different species, but refined and perfected beyond anything they had thought possible. Some ships seemed to be made of crystallized light. Others appeared to be constructed from folded space-time itself. A few existed as pure energy held in ship-like forms by will alone. "Dear gods," whispered Admiral Rex Commander from his position, at Rex's side. "How many of them are there?" The answer became clear as human ships continued to appear. Not just hundreds or thousands, but tens of thousands, surrounding the alien fleet in a sphere of impossible technology and quiet power. Each human ship was smaller than the alien flagships, but sensors showed that each one possessed firepower that could destroy entire alien fleets. Kate's voice continued across the communication channel, calm and patient as a teacher addressing confused children. "For 3 centuries, Chancellor, you've believed that humanity was primitive and isolated. You were wrong on both counts. We were never primitive, we were learning, and we were never isolated, we were everywhere." She activated a holographic display that appeared in the space between the human and alien fleets. It showed the galaxy in 3 dimensions, with thousands of points of light indicating human operations across known space. The kiln plague that mysteriously stopped spreading in 2398? Human bioengineers developed the cure and introduced it into your medical supply chains. The savage horde that terrorized the Outer Rim before vanishing in 2445? Our stealth fleets eliminated every single horde ship, making their destruction look like accidents. The convenient disasters that eliminated terrorist groups, pirate fleets, and military threats over the past 3 centuries? That was us, protecting a galaxy that despised us from dangers they never knew existed. The display showed incident after incident, crisis after crisis, all resolved by invisible human intervention. The pattern was undeniable. For 3 centuries, humanity had been the galaxy's secret guardian, preventing disasters and eliminating threats while remaining completely hidden. Chancellor Vrex felt his worldview crumble around him. The mighty Galactic Council, the powerful alien civilizations, the advanced military forces he commanded, all of them had been existing only because humanity allowed them to exist. They had been children playing at being adults, protected by parents they couldn't see. Why? He managed to ask. Why protect us? We rejected you. We quarantined your world. We declared you too primitive to join our civilization. Kate's image appeared on the main screen, a middle-aged human woman with kind eyes and a patient smile. Because it was the right thing to do, Chancellor. When your people rejected us, we had a choice. We could become bitter and seek revenge, or we could become better and seek understanding. We chose to grow. She gestured to the human fleet surrounding them. Every ship you see represents not conquest, but protection. Every technology we developed was created not to destroy, but to preserve. We spent 3 centuries learning from every species in the galaxy, studying your strengths, understanding your weaknesses, and quietly ensuring that your children would have a future. The holographic display changed, showing detailed records of human interventions across the galaxy. Mining operations that had been secretly expanded to provide resources during famines. Trade routes that had been mysteriously cleared of pirates, just before crucial supply runs. Diplomatic communications that had been subtly adjusted to prevent wars. You see, Chancellor, we discovered something your civilizations never understood. True strength isn't the ability to destroy your enemies. True strength is the wisdom to turn your enemies into friends, and the power to protect those who cannot protect themselves. Admiral Rex Commander stepped forward, his voice shaking with a mixture of fear and rage. You've been manipulating us, controlling our development, making us dependent on your secret intervention. Kate shook her head gently. We've been teaching you, Admiral. Every crisis we prevented was a lesson in cooperation. Every disaster we stopped was an example of what unity could accomplish. Every threat we eliminated was proof that the galaxy was stronger when its people worked together rather than competed against each other. She activated another display, this one showing comparative development charts across the galaxy over the past 3 centuries. Before human intervention, your species spent 70% of your resources on warfare. After our quiet influence began, that dropped to 30%. Before we started preventing disasters, an average of 12 species went extinct every century. In the past 300 years, that number is 0. The statistics were undeniable. Under humanity's secret guidance, the galaxy had become more peaceful, more prosperous, and more stable than ever before in recorded history. Wars were shorter and less destructive. Technological development proceeded at steady rates that prevented species from destroying themselves. Even natural disasters seemed to be less devastating than historical records suggested they should be. "You turned us into pets," Chancellor Vrex said bitterly. Kate's expression remained patient and kind. "We turned you into a family, Chancellor, and now it's time for the family to know the truth about their guardians." She touched a control on her ship, and suddenly the Sol system itself came alive with activity. The carefully maintained illusion of primitive Earth vanished like smoke in the wind, revealing the truth that had been hidden for 3 centuries. Earth was not a single world with primitive civilizations. It was the center of a vast construction project that spanned the entire solar system. Massive ring structures surrounded the sun, harvesting its energy and redirecting it to power technologies that existed on scales the aliens had never imagined. The moon had been completely hollowed out and converted into a manufacturing facility that could build entire fleets in days. Mars was covered with sprawling cities connected by transport systems that moved people and goods at significant fractions of light speed. The asteroid belt had been converted into a 3-dimensional network of space habitats, research stations, and defensive platforms. Even the gas giants had been modified, their atmospheres mined for exotic materials, and their moons converted into staging bases for operations across the galaxy. "This is what 3 centuries of human development accomplished," Kate explained. "While you believed we were primitive, we were building something that your civilizations couldn't imagine. Not just advanced technology, but a new way of thinking about what civilization could become." The alien fleet hung in space, completely overwhelmed by what they were seeing. Some ships had already begun powering down their weapons, their crews, recognizing that resistance against such overwhelming capability would be suicide. Others maintained defensive positions, but their posture had changed from aggressive to desperate. Chancellor Vrex studied the readings from his sensors, trying to understand the magnitude of what humanity had achieved. The solar system contained more organized matter, more controlled energy, and more sophisticated technology than the rest of the galaxy combined. And this was just what they were allowing him to see. "What do you want from us?" he asked quietly. Kate smiled, and for the first time since the conversation began, she looked genuinely happy. "We want what we've always wanted, Chancellor. We want to join your civilization, but not as the primitive species you rejected 3 centuries ago. As the guardians we became while we were waiting for you to be ready." She gestured to the human fleet, and slowly, carefully, the ships began to power down their weapons and reduce their threatening formations. "We could have revealed ourselves at any time in the past 3 centuries. We could have demanded recognition, forced acceptance, conquered the galaxy through superior technology, but that would have made us no better than the threats we've been protecting you from." The holographic display changed one final time, showing plans for integration between human and galactic civilization, research partnerships that would advance alien technology by centuries, defense agreements that would make war impossible across known space, cultural exchanges that would share the best of both human and alien achievements. "We're offering you a choice, Chancellor. You can continue to fear us, continue to see us as a threat to be eliminated or controlled, Or you can accept us as the family members we've always tried to be. We've spent 3 centuries proving our dedication to your survival and prosperity. Now we're asking for the chance to do it openly. Chancellor Vrex looked around his bridge at officers whose confidence had been completely shattered. Then he looked back at the view screen, where Admiral Kate Morgan waited with infinite patience for his response. The galaxy had spent 3 centuries believing they were the masters of their own destiny. Today they had learned they were children, who had been lovingly protected by parents they never knew existed. The question now was whether they could accept their guardians as equals, or whether fear would make them choose a war they could never win. Vrex took a deep breath and made the most important decision in galactic history. Admiral Morgan, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I would like to formally invite humanity to join our civilization. Not as subjects or rulers, but as the family you've always believed us to be. Kate's smile brightened the bridge of every ship in both fleets. Thank you, Chancellor. It's good to finally come home. As human and alien ships began the delicate process of standing down from what could have been the galaxy's final war, a new age began. An age where the children of Earth would no longer hide in the shadows, but stand in the light as the guardians they had always chosen to be. The galaxy had rejected humanity as too primitive to join their civilization. In response, humanity had quietly become the civilization the galaxy never knew it needed. Now, finally, the family was complete.